We like to start every episode with a disclaimer that we are not professionals. Our conversations are solely based on our personal experiences, thoughts, and opinions. Nothing discussed here is meant to be taken as professional mental health or medical advice. If you have questions or need assistance, please seek the help of a licensed professional.
Discussions in this podcast may sometimes revolve around heavy material such as abuse, grooming, religious trauma, etc. Please listen with caution and prioritize your mental health first.
Welcome to Trauma Bondage, the podcast where we talk about trauma, kinks, and non-traditional lifestyles and relationships. We are your hosts, Brigitte.
I'm Beth. Hi.
Hi, my love. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little sleepy.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
We just had our launch party last night.
We did.
So, yeah.
Shout out to everybody that was there to see us launch.
To
see us
It's already here. You're already listening to it if you're listening to this. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is far into the future from that. But we had our launch party. It was really great. We had a bunch of people show up in, sexy attire.
Yeah.
Lingerie, BDSM gear, whatever you wanted to wear, whatever you were comfortable in.
Showed up, showed out.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
I love it.
We went hard. You stayed out later than me.
I did.
So
I did.
You're doing better than me though. Like you seem like you have more energy than me.
Well, I don't get hangovers.
I forgot about that. I fucking Irish.
I know. Runs in my family.
Yeah. I'm technically okay, so this is what's stupid. I am literally half Scottish, like 50% Scottish, and I cannot drink for shit. Like I'm like, what where in the bloodline did it like fall off? Where did it fall off? Like my hangovers are horrible. I had 3 drinks on Friday night, was shit-faced, and then the next morning I woke up and was like feeling like death, and I was like, 3 drinks? Are you sure?
Your size may have to do with that as well.
Probably.
Yeah.
Very tiny human.
I've watched you be carried out of bars before.
We don't talk about that.
It's like you're on a throne. You just get like held.
I get escorted. Escorted out.
You get an escort to your chauffeur, and then you get taken home and tucked into bed. That's what happens.
I always date people who are like caretakers for that reason, because I'm like, if you
have to be able to carry me out of a bar.
If you've seen me drunk, you know that like I might walk out, I might be carried out. You never know.
Yep.
But we did good last night. We did good.
I'm proud.
I'm proud too.
Good job.
It was a really good time.
Yeah, I had a great time.
We did.
I had a glorious time.
What are we talking about today?
Actually,
I'll kick it off.
Why we are the way we are.
I was going to say, I'll kick it off because I have a lot to say about this.
Oh, I believe it.
I think that you do too. But
we probably have a lot of similar experiences with this. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Tell us what we're doing.
So today we're going to be talking about why our faces are the way they are, in your words.
Yes.
But basically about number 1, having a bitch face.
Yeah.
And
RBF.
being a nice person. The
Hits
classic case of the RBF, which we both have. And then also, this kind of ties in, but how being a like Dom, very femme presenting lesbian, like what that experience is like in all the spaces that we are in.
In workspace, in straight spaces, in queer spaces.
Yeah.
And everything in between.
Yes. So I think we should kick it off just with like, in general, like what are our experiences? This is probably relatable for some of you, but like what our experiences have been with like just people and like friendships in our lives.
Oh my gosh.
Having an RBF.
RBF in general. Okay. So I'm one of those people where like I have actively tried to make myself look more pleasant.
Yes.
As a human being.
Yes.
Like I actually have to be like thinking about, oh, I've got to smile. I've got to like at least have like just like a gentle like, oh, look, I'm approachable kind of feel.
Yeah.
But like if I'm thinking or focusing or doing anything else, I absolutely look like a dick at all times. And I first knew that my face was like this when I was 16.
That my face was like this.
Because I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And I actually was talking to my dad about it because my dad also has RBF. Like we've since realized this where he's
really?
like, yeah, he's like a really nice guy, but people don't approach him because he looks like an asshole.
Here's the thing though. I feel like a lot of men have RBF and nobody calls it that because it's just expected for men to like look like.
They can do whatever. But like women, if we do not like look pleasant or approachable or smile, honey, right, is a cat call that you get. And it's like, no, I don't want to fucking smile. Leave me alone. I'm smiling inside. What do you want from me? My first experience was when I was 16 and I was on a trip with this group called People to People. And this girl was on the bus and we had gotten to know each other, and she was like, man, I really wish I had started talking to you at the beginning of this trip. Like, knowing that like we'd be such good friends. You're so nice, but I didn't like approach you because I thought you were a bitch. And I was like, what made you think I was a bitch? Like, was it something I said? And she was like, literally just your face. Yep. And I was like, great, love that for me. Which kind of like clicked into my brain, because I had never been, I think there's a lot of factors with this, but I had never been somebody that had like a specific friend group, especially not like with girls.
Right.
I kind of floated from group to group, had a very small handful of humans that I actually was close with and stayed close with.
Okay.
And they were all kind of like quirky, odd human beings that just didn't give a fuck about anything.
Yeah.
And I think that like clicked in my brain that was a correlation of like friendships. And that's when I was like, okay, I actually need to start looking more pleasant.
Yeah.
Like I need to actively make an effort to look pleasant. And that's been my thing throughout the history of my life, is like, even in theater, like I don't want to come across as difficult to work with.
Yep.
When I go into auditions, I don't want to look like a bitch just by existing. Like I have to like look pleasant and like have the energy and stuff like that people want to talk to me.
I think women are like in general expected to behave in like a very stereotypical feminine way that like is comfortable for men.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I think this carries over even into some queer spaces. Like we're just like taught like you need to be nice, you need to be friendly, you need to be soft,
amiable.
You need to be amiable, you need to be like easy to get along with, you need to be chill, all of that. And I feel like if you're not perceived as that, you're immediately put in a category of like being just an absolute cunt.
Yeah. You're like, marked as difficult.
Yes, difficult. Which I feel like this is like, we'll get into this in a second, but like in the workspace specifically, I want to talk about experiences that we've had there, because working in corporate America and like having the faces that we have.
Also the personalities that we have. Yeah.
Yeah, being like having a dominant personality and being, it's a thing. So for me, like I've had a lot, I don't know if you've had this, but like a lot of experiences with people that like I'm now friends with, like good friends with, that retroactively told me like I didn't like approach you or talk to you or like become friends with you originally because I didn't think that you were going to be nice.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that like you would be like interested in being friends with me or whatever it was. And I would always ask, why did you think that? I'm really nice. Like once you get to know me. And they would always say like, it's just like the way that you carry yourself in your face.
We always say you're scary.
Right.
But like we say that out of love
in a joking
because
way,
we love you in a joke and we know that you're not scary. But like I think to the outside like spectator, like just looking at you, they're like I think it's more of an intimidation thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to maybe you look like a bitch. I think it's more of like, wow, the way she carries herself, like that's really like, I don't know if I can handle it kind of thing like that. For
and if you can't, that's fine.
That's fine. Go find
find someone else. I think it's a good way to vet out really like insecure people who will end up like putting that on you. Is just like, can you be friends with someone who's really confident? Yeah. Like I love surrounding myself with other confident people because I feel like those friendships in my experience have always been the best friendships. They're all
on the same like level together.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is why we connect so well because like we are very similar in that way.
And I don't know if it's because of learning about RBF so early on in life or just what I've gone through, but it's something like my sisters have told me. They were like, it's something we're envious of you. People that like really something that they really like about me, which is really nice to know, is that they're like, you do not give a fuck about what anybody thinks about you. Because to me, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
Right.
And that's fine.
And you know that.
And not everyone's going to be my cup of tea. And I think I've said that before, but like, you get what you get. And if it doesn't work for you, okay, move on. Find somebody that does. Like, that's fine.
But I think this all like really ties into like, again, what I was talking about, like the social like expectation for women to be a very specific way. And then this is not even considering the fact that like we're both queer women on top of that.
Yep.
And I think this is something that's not talked about enough. I mean, some of our listeners are probably like very femme queer people. And the way that like we are treated in different spaces is like not really discussed.
And it's just like vastly like different from one side to the other, depending on what the majority of the space is. For like workspace. Yeah. Just to start into that. Luckily I work for a company that's like very inclusive, and like I could just be out and stuff like that, and a majority of the people I work with are women, which is nice. Like I actually work with far fewer men, but even in that space, like I think sometimes I'm considered a little bit more of like a pusher, because I'm not one to just like go with whatever. Like I'm going to challenge the status quo, because the goal is to improve, like not just improve myself, but improve the quality of work and life for the team, the quality of how we run things as a business. Yeah. How can we grow? How can we, evolve for the better? Right. And in the corporate world, there's a lot of women especially that get hired into positions of leadership and power because they'll just say yes. Yep. And I'm not a just say yes kind of gal. Yeah. I am let's push back. And then of course you've got the face and you've got the personality that's like bold and pushing, but also like is going to be there for other people and try to, help support others, and it becomes this, it's almost like a black mark on you. Like, oh, well, we can't push you up in leadership because you won't just go along with it. Yep. And the thing is, if I were a man doing all of that, I would be lauded as a wonderful leader. You know what you want. Somebody who should be a CEO and be running the company or running this team and has dynamic, abilities and has this like you're a go-getter, you have grit. Yes, exactly. And the thing is, it's just so frustrating. Yeah. Because as a woman, I should be, oh yes, that works, and I will do whatever you want, and I'm not. You know what's funny? You're kind of reminding me of, I recently attended a women in leadership talk at my company. And this talk was given by somebody, I won't even say their title, but like somebody very high up in the company. Yeah. Was it who is a woman in leadership. It was a woman. Good. A white woman who is very like stereotypical. So like, we have that. There was a lack of diversity outside of her being a woman. Okay. So she has a very specific set of experiences, I think. But in the first 5 minutes of her coming on to speak to all of these women at different levels, trying to like advance in leadership, she said that, coming up in leadership for herself, she looked around her and she was really nervous because she felt like, all of the women that she saw as examples were just absolute bitches. She said this. And she was like, and they were just so aggressive. And, I really didn't want to have to be like that to like advance. And, I really wanted to be able to be like softer and whatever. And I kind of understand what she was trying to say. It's like women shouldn't have to work so hard and be aggressive to get there. But to get ahead, you have to. But that's not women's problem. No. And she was blaming it on the women for being bitches instead of how it's been structured for us as women. Yeah, exactly. No, it's not those women's fault that they had to shift who they are to get there, which there's always going to be that one in the bucket that like just is that way and like has done the let me climb on your back kind of thing. But like anybody does that. And some women just are naturally, their personalities are more dominant, more aggressive, more like I feel like you and I are both those people that like might be labeled as like the bitches in the higher like ranks of a corporate organization. But it's like, no, we aren't. We're just willing to push and like willing to ask questions and willing to be aggressive if we need to be. Yeah. And willing to fight for what we believe in, whether it's our team or whatever. And so I think there's just a lot of like stigma around that in general in corporate America. At least that's been my experience. And like, well, even like femininity in the workspace. Like if I were to come in like a more feminine outfit, I'm like, they're like, oh, you look so nice today. But like, I'm not taken as seriously as if I maybe masked it up a little bit. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like you see that the whole thing with like women in the workplace is like, oh, like get a pantsuit, a power suit. It's a power suit. It's not just a suit. Yep. It's a power suit. You can't show up in your throwback to rail me in a sundress comment. You can't show up in your sundress. No.
and be taken seriously
Absolutely
in that
not.
environment.
But like, I'll, you know, not in my current place, but like in other places of work, like I would have to dress to the nines and make sure I looked super professional, 100% across the board to go out and talk to clients.
Yeah.
To which the clients were always men. I'm having these meetings with guys that are in like golf shirts, golf t-shirts and shorts, and they're, you know,
there's no expectation there.
There's
for
no
them.
expectation. Yeah. That's even like in music. No harm, no foul to Ed Sheeran, but like he has his concerts that are sold out and he goes up there and just like does stuff in a t-shirt and jeans.
Right.
But like every freaking woman that you see performing is in what? Like latex bodysuits and has all the glitter and glitz and glam and all the shit.
Yep.
To try and get the same level of attendance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is it such a double standard? I hate it.
I don't know, but I feel like these kind of conversations like need to happen, and that's like why we're talking about this because like there's just not a lot of awareness. I don't think men even realize a lot of times that there is such a double standard or like such a different experience because they just live in their
world.
Their worlds.
That's what they do, and that's okay. Like it's what they're doing. It's something that needs to be learned from that perspective too, because like the whole goal is to have people stand up for others, like marginalized communities, like women. They don't consider us marginalized because there's so many of us. Yeah. But the thing is, there's such like a drastic gap, even in like in pay structure.
Yes.
So like,
yes,
it's just insane. What are your experiences workplace wise?
So
being the way you are.
So mine, it has less to do with like having an RBF, but it has more to do with being like an attractive woman in the workplace that's very feminine. So I started my career in sales. And so I did sales for like 3 years. And I had a lot of face-to-face time with like men who were clients. And the amount of times that I was not taken seriously, I was asked about my age, told that I couldn't provide them any value because I was too young or I was a woman. I actually had somebody tell me that on the phone one time.
Yep.
I had experiences where I set up a meeting for like a prospect because it was a work dinner, and I showed up and then he propositioned me, and I realized that he was using that situation to just get me to go to dinner with him and was not planning on like buying our services at all. So it was like a lot of that type of stuff. Trying to buy your service. Yeah, he was trying to buy services I was not selling. Not selling. But if you do, good for you. That's just not what I was doing at the time. But I had a lot of those experiences. And so it's interesting because when I started in corporate America, I think I was a lot like softer of a person.
Oh, probably.
I was a little more like, yeah, like blah, 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 blah. I was like a little more of like that girl. And then what made me tough and what made me the way that I am is experiences that I had being like that with men like that. Or people just not taking me seriously at all. And so I had a lot of bad experiences when I worked in that role. Now, I will say, like, at the company we met at, I had one person that I worked with consistently who, like, was extremely misogynistic. And I actually went to HR about the situation multiple times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it was overall pretty good with most people. At the company I'm at now, I feel very, very lucky that like I have not had any experiences, but it's also because I'm older.
Yeah.
I'm 31. I also act like this now. So people like don't fuck with me. And it's like you have to almost put on like this mask sometimes. Like women do have to put on this mask when they're in the workplace where it's like you don't talk about your personal life. You don't give them like an inch or they'll take a mile. And it's like you just know what you have to do when you've been in the field that you're in for like a certain amount of time. Yeah. So the RBF is helpful sometimes.
But just being like a woman in general in the workplace is already like, it reminds me, your experience in the sales world and all in the proposition and stuff like that and people not taking you seriously reminds me, I remember reading about a woman, I think in sales, that like was higher up in the company and she would send out emails and like sometimes wouldn't even get responses.
Right.
Or would get like, oh, I want to speak to a man, or like you have no value to me. And they did a test where her and like a coworker who was like on the same level as her swapped names for the emails, right? So it was like, I don't even know the names, like Melissa and Jack. And so she would send emails as Jack and he would send emails as Melissa because he was never having any problems and she was having all these problems and couldn't meet like metrics or whatever. And they swapped them and it like completely shifted entirely.
That's fucking crazy.
Just because of the signature of Sincerely
her name.
Jack.
Yeah. And this is all without the added layer of us even talking about like being a queer woman in these spaces.
Oh my God.
This is just being a woman in general. Like I'm sure everyone watching or listening has had some sort of experiences like this if you are a woman, but being a queer woman, I don't know if you've had this like in the workplace where when I'm first introduced to like a new person that I'm working with, almost without fail, every time if I say like I have a partner or whatever, they're like, oh, what does he do?
Oh my God.
Every fucking time.
Yeah. Actually,
what does he do?
I think that was something that was important to me when I moved to the company that I'm in now was because at every other job I'd ever had, the first question I always got, which habit, but like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? No, I don't.
Yep.
Because I wouldn't expand.
But then they assume that you're single.
And then they're like, oh, you're single, which when it was men asking me that, I would all of a sudden start getting flirted with in the workplace, which I'm like, I don't get my honey where my money's at. Like, leave me be.
Yeah.
But also like the fact that there's the assumption of like, if you're not dating someone, therefore you're free.
Yeah.
Like that's of the male variety because you're a woman. Like there's just, it's just innate assumption there. But also like that was really what told me different things of when I started interviewing at the place that I'm at now. They were like, oh, like, are you dating anybody? And I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm engaged. My fiance. And of course, a lot of the time still the assumption is, oh, what does he do? Right. But the thing is, I felt like I could correct them and be like, oh, she, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, she, cool. And then continue with the conversation. It wouldn't be weird.
Yes.
Right. But
exactly.
I've had others where they're just like, oh.
They're totally thrown off by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's
But that's because then this is something we're going to expand on, but like being a femme, lesbian, like in general, it is just always assumed in straight spaces and a lot of times in queer spaces that there are men involved.
Well,
when you're femme.
Well, you don't look gay.
Yeah.
Once, when I said, oh, I have a girlfriend. Well, oh, that's surprising. You don't look gay. And I was like, what the fuck does gay look like?
I was going to say,
like, what does straight look like?
What does it look like? Yeah.
It look like?
And it's like, of course, like I know what people mean when they say that. They just mean you don't look like a masked lesbian.
Yeah, you're not androgynous enough.
But it's the assumption that to like women, you have to have masculine presenting qualities.
Yeah.
You cannot be feminine and also like femininity, which to me is misogyny, like all over again.
Yes.
It's like, it's this whole thing that like, I feel like our society tries to do where like women are supposed to be pitted against each other. Like femininity is supposed to be competing with femininity. So you can't be attracted to it if you're feminine. You can only be attracted to it if you're masculine. And if you happen to be a lesbian that looks masculine, okay, maybe I'll assume that like you're gay. That's just my like philosophical answer to why this is the way it is. I've thought about it a lot, but I'm like, why is there always that assumption? And I think it also comes down to representation too.
Yep.
Like a lot of like even queer media now, it's like there's not a lot of like femme for femme relationships.
Hardly at all.
Presented.
Honestly, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Or
just,
even
like,
mask for mask. There's just a very like binary
you're right.
couple structure of like a masked woman with a femme woman. That's the lesbian couple that's like sometimes like pops up in your TV shows.
Yeah.
But like PSA, we like femmes.
Yeah.
Well, I like femmes.
I do too.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
You seem open.
They're fair. I'm open. Like I like femmes. I like masculine energy behind it, like that strength.
Yeah.
But
there's also people that I know that are mask women that really like other mask women. And
oh
like,
my gosh, yes.
Mask for mask is a thing.
It's like I love that too.
Yeah.
I'm always just like, yes, this is great.
I love watching two mask women date and just bro the fuck out and like punch each other and be like, it's flirting.
Yeah.
But like they're literally like wrestling on the ground and I'm like, what are you doing? And then the femme couples are over there like handing each other flowers. Like, there you go.
There you go. You're so pretty.
Let's go get our nails done together.
Honestly, that's great though. Like, it's so
I love
cute.
it. It's beautiful.
I've found for me like, because I'm pretty femme, in my own right. Like
You
I
are.
think that, and it's funny because like after I came out, I felt this need to mask myself up a little bit. Like I needed to be a little bit more masculine, which is why like my clothing changed. I went from wearing like dresses and heels and skirts and stuff all the time to wearing like ripped jeans and rocker tees and the flannel and the boots and like just trying to be a little more like to make it obvious.
Yeah.
Right? To make it obvious that I was gay, because like in queer spaces, if we want to shift to that outside of the workspace, like going to a lesbian bar or just the gayborhood or anything like that,
God,
I couldn't get women to hit on me for shit.
Fucking save your life. Like, it's like you're a straight girl invading their space and like you're at a bachelorette party. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, they're like that. There's the you know group of gays that brought the straight girl with them. Yeah, and I'm like, no, I'm gay. Like, yeah, I'm gayer than half of these people that are with me right now. Yeah, like please notice me. So I'd have to like mask myself up or like the dreaded like rainbow something. Well, it's so funny because I was seeing something on TikTok, of course, of all places, and it's like a femme that was like, hey, mask women, like how do you like pinpoint whether a femme is like gay or not? Like, do you just go up to any femme woman and hope for the best and hope they're not straight? All the comments are like, we look for like any ounce of rainbow on you. And I'm like, I don't like to wear rainbows.
It's so fucking ugly. Like, I'm sorry.
We love that it's the rainbow for the pride flag.
We love
like,
it.
For us, like, look
we
at you.
like to wear
Are you
black.
wearing an ounce of color right now?
No,
Not
I don't.
At all.
Not a single ounce. I never do.
Like, I am, but like, even so, like, I think I own one bracelet that is mostly black, and then it's got like the little rainbow beads on it, and I'll wear that on occasion if I'm feeling like, oh, I'm a little more femme today. I should probably wear something that has a rainbow on it so I can be pinpointed out of the crowd of gays to know that like I am one of them, my kin.
On
like,
Pride, I feel like it's a very normal thing to wear rainbow normal, or have like a rainbow flag or whatever.
Not the other, 11 months of the year. Yeah, I'm just not that kind of a gay. Like, it's fine if you are. Some people really love having rainbow everything. And I feel like when you come out, that is part of it. Yeah. Right? It's like everybody's like, oh my God, here's all these rainbow things. Like, this is awesome. Like, you're going to wear rainbow because like gay. And like, that is fun.
I love it on other people. I think that I think it's so cute. But on me, it makes me feel like I can't present the way I want to.
I shouldn't have to wear it to be like, oh, hey.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, if I don't want to.
Exactly.
It's not authentic to me.
No, I completely agree. I actually will tell a story because I feel like this is a perfect example of like a femme going into a queer space and being just absolutely disrespected. So last year, I don't think I've told you this story.
I've got one for you too.
Okay, great. So last year I was with a bachelorette party. Most of the people that I was with were straight or bisexual. 3 were bisexual, 2 were straight, and then I was the only lesbian. Okay. So we go into the only lesbian bar in Dallas, and we're getting drinks, blah, blah, blah. This very, very masked woman, older woman, comes up to us, starts flirting with us. And she just looks at us and is like, I'm going to guess all of your sexualities. Without asking for consent or saying like, hey, do you want me to fucking do this? And so we're just kind of standing there. We're just kind of fucking standing there. And so she goes around the circle. I'm not really paying attention because I'm like, anyways, I'm just drinking my drink. And then she gets to me and she goes, and you're straight. And just like, it was very like, it was like a blow you off situation. Yeah. At the time, I was engaged. I had an engagement ring on. To a woman, to be clear. To a woman. And I was like, actually, no, I'm engaged to a woman. And she goes, no, you're not. Literally to my face was like, no, you're not. You're straight.
Back the fuck up.
Yeah. She literally told me, she was like, you're straight. And I was like, I don't think that's your decision to make or like anything that you should be telling people. Like, that is just insane to me.
Are you single?
Yeah.
Yes? I see why.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I see why you're hitting on women 30 years younger than you and are single right now because you're being an absolute dick. So I just looked at her and I was like, actually, no, I'm engaged to a woman. And she was like, you're gay? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, prove it.
No.
I literally looked at her and I turned around and just walked away. I was like, I'm not even going to like justify anything you're saying with a conversation.
You don't know me and you don't have to prove a damn thing to
No.
anyone. I mean, so prove it. What is her expectation for
that I'm going to cheat on my fiance and make out with her probably. Like literally that's what she was asking
Nobody
me to
wants
do.
you then. That's toxic as shit, lady.
Yeah,
Bye.
it was so like it was such a bad experience and like
I'm so sorry.
after that I was just like I went home and I like actually cried about it because I was like I feel like nobody is taking me seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels like somebody like obviously we deal with being discriminated against and not taken seriously in like the straight world, right? Like that's kind of an expectation of like straight people in your family being like, are you really gay? Like thinking you're going to end up with a man, whatever. But then when you go into a safe space and you're around other queer people, that's the last fucking place you expect to be treated like that.
Yep.
But it happens frequently. Like I know I'm not the only person that's experienced this.
No, certainly not.
So
I mean,
it was
come on, if that lady's going around doing that to groups of women.
to random people.
Like,
yeah.
And the thing is, it almost makes you wonder if that's her tactic to like get you to make out with her, right? Is that like, oh, I'm gonna guess your sexuality. I'm actually attracted to you. It's like the like reverse psychology, like male bullshit.
It was
like,
disgusting.
Treat
There was
this one with respect and treat that one like shit, and that's the one that you're trying to get in bed with.
Yes,
because like women will like fawn over you to try and
the
get your
toxic
approval.
Masculinity was oozing out of her pores.
Well,
we'll just say it
go.
that way.
There it is.
She was also a cop, so I should have not been surprised. We'll leave that there. That one. Pin in that.
Put a pin in that one. For me, mine was actually a predominantly male queer space.
Okay.
And it was frustrating, and it was recent. It was in the last like year or so where I was just like, wow, I can't believe this happened. So went and met a friend at a gay bar, and it's a bunch of men, and then like me, my wife, and like there were maybe some other lesbians there, but they were like more masculine, and
right.
And we had kind of been talking with them throughout the night because girls got to stick together.
Yeah.
But we're there, and there's this random guy, doesn't know any of us, random guy that has been walking around with a fucking vibrator, and he's shit-faced. You can tell he's shit-faced. So, of course, people are just like, ha, 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 he's drunk, he's doing whatever. Comes up to us, and it's like the four of us women, and then everybody else is a man.
Okay.
A gay man at this place. And he comes up, and he's, like, looking at me and, like, dancing and, like, making eyes. Doesn't bother any of the masked women that are with me.
Mm-hmm.
Or just me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Maybe he's bi. Maybe he's pan. I don't fucking know. Maybe I'm his type in that world. But the thing is, I don't know anything about him. I don't know who he is. Proceeds to turn his vibrator on and put it in between my legs.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Straight to jail.
Straight to jail. You're going to jail.
Immediately.
So the thing is, luckily, it's me.
Right.
And I just look him dead in the eye, and I remove his hand. I said, did I give you consent to do that?
What did he say?
And he was like, oh, no. And I said, well, maybe you should fucking ask next time. I said, please leave my sight.
And never come back.
And he was like, oh, okay. Like, flushed, left. Like, I had to call him out and be like, abso-fucking-lutely not. But the thing is, did not do it to any of the mass presenting women that I was with. Right?
Yeah.
They got a pass because they were a bro.
Yep. But this is my like theory on all of this is that masculinity is like okay with other masculinity in the room.
Yes.
And they are not like they treat women, and this is PSA. Gay men can be misogynistic too. Like we have experienced a lot of this. Like they still do not respect women. Like people like this do not respect women just because they're gay.
But it was obvious that this was a man who probably has some attraction to women, right?
Yeah.
Feminine women, that automatically assumed that because I was a feminine woman that I would be okay with that. You would be okay with it. And that I would probably be into it.
Yeah.
With him as a man.
Yeah. Yeah,
there was an assumption already there.
Yep. Yeah.
Just for existing as I was.
Yeah.
Which pissed me right the fuck off.
Well, I mean, that is a really good example of just like fucking boundaries being crossed in general and consent not being involved in every way. But I feel like they're also, I don't know if you've had these experiences like going to like predominantly gay male clubs where they will, if you're with a masked partner, gay men will kind of swarm around you as the femme, and like they will think that it's okay to touch you and like dance on you, grab your boobs, like whatever it is, in a way that like you would never let a straight man do it, but they think because they're gay it's okay.
Yeah.
Like I fully had my ass grabbed by a gay man.
I have been fully groped by
months.
a number of gay men.
But it's like it's when you present in a feminine way.
Yeah.
There is like this thing that like is assumed that it's like you are lower than and you just automatically either want this or are going to be okay with this because
willing to accept
society has programmed you to fucking accept these kind of advances. Mm-hmm. And like it's just bullshit. Like and I think that's why like it's okay if you're in those spaces to be like, hey, fucking cut it out. Like, do not do this. Like, you can be harsh because like they need to hear it sometimes.
Yeah. And then you have like kind of that with but it goes to like straight spaces, like heterosexual spaces of like, for instance, if I were to be dating you and I had a man hit on me and I was like, hey, no, this is my partner. Like, I'm not interested.
Yep.
They wouldn't take it seriously because you are feminine.
Yeah.
They're a little more likely to take it seriously with Jen, per se, because she's more mask presenting. But then there's still that whole like, well, it's a woman, so I don't really fully appreciate it. But like, oh, bro, like, good job, buddy. And they'll leave it alone. Yeah. And I've seen that happen like time and time again. Yeah. And like even Jen, she's like, it's so weird.
Yeah. They try to bro out.
Yeah.
With the mask lesbian. Yeah.
It's like the whole thing of like a guy's like, oh, you have a boyfriend, like I'll leave it alone.
They'll respect masculinity.
They'll respect like the like ownership.
Yes. That's literally what it is.
It's so fucking weird and I hate it. But like it's like, oh, well, like they belong to you, therefore I'll leave it be.
So I have a story actually about this too.
Ooh.
So many stories.
Give it to me.
Okay, so this is during the period of time where I was dating a lot and I was trying to like kind of like branch out and like discover what I like. So I was on a date with a very femme woman. And we went to a restaurant that was very straight. Like a lot of straight people there, a lot of older straight people there. And it was fine for the first like 30 minutes. We were sitting at the bar together. Our chairs were literally facing each other, right? So, and her hand is on my leg and like it's very clear that we're on a date.
Yeah.
And if it's not very clear, I will make it clear. Like I will tell somebody, hey, like fuck off, we're on a date. So I'm like, we're sitting there, we're having drinks, we're having a great time. And this group of 3 men comes and sits down at the bar, like right beside us. Older men. And we're ordering a drink and one of them is like, pulls out his card and he tries to hand it to the bartender and is like, pay for their drinks. So I turn around in my chair and I'm like, actually, no, like we're on a date right now. I've got it. And he just looks at me and he doesn't say anything. And he looks back at the male bartender and is like, pay for their drinks. And I look back at him and I'm like, I don't know if you heard me the first time, but I said, no, we're on a date. I've got it. I turn back around. The male bartender, God bless his soul, looks at me, takes my card, and he's like, I'm not fucking dealing with this.
Good.
He was like, I'm not going to get in the middle of this. So he takes my card and we pay for the drinks. I turn my chair back around, start talking to her again. This is her first date with a woman, by the way. So she's just like watching it all unfold. Yeah. Later in life, lesbian, had just gotten out of a relationship with a man. And so it was like a new experience for her. And I was like, this is normal. It's okay. Like, just let me handle it.
Yeah.
So we drink our drinks and we go to order the next round. And those guys are still there. I'm ignoring them. They're kind of saying stuff in the background, but I'm just like not listening. And then I like order the drinks and I hear something clink down right beside me. And I look and this man has thrown his credit card, his like gold Amex card, down beside me on the table. Just like fucking chunked it down.
I would have picked it up and snapped it in half.
So I took it and I said, I don't know if you heard me the first 2 times I said this, but we're fucking good. We're on a date right now. And I threw it at him. Like literally threw it at him.
Queen.
It hits him in the chest and bounces off. And his face is just like.
Because like, nobody's ever rejected poor little baby boy with his gold fucking platinum credit card.
I literally was like, I don't need your money, dude. Like, don't
Nor do I want it.
It's sad that you think this is all you have to offer, but he didn't take it seriously because it's like it's two femmes on a date. He still thinks that like we need his money for some whatever reason or another to buy a fucking $15 margarita. And so once I did that though, he fucking backed off. And like I remember the rest of the night when every time he would look at me, he'd just be like, but it was like he had never
scared him into submission. Well done.
He was like, "Oh shit, she was
Put
serious."
The fear
So she was actually serious when she said, "Okay, got it."
Yeah. It only took 3 times for me to fucking internalize it and actually take it seriously.
It's just but those kind of experiences happen all the time. Like
I know.
All the time.
When Jen and I had started dating, we would frequent this bar out in Fort Worth all the time. Very straight space. Very, very straight space. Like not a gay to be seen in sight. Like we were the only ones that were ever there, but we liked it and we liked the bartender. Like we knew him. It was a cool space and it was like walking distance from where she lived. So why wouldn't we go there?
Right.
And I remember I was late one night to meeting her because I had rehearsal and it went a little longer. And I was like, hey, like I'll be there ASAP. She was like, oh, it's all cool. I'm at the bar. I'm watching the game on the TV and like chatting with this dude. And I'm like, cool, great.
Yeah.
I'm a masked lesbian. Had a nice fucking conversation with some dude.
Right.
I get there and I see the guy and he's shit-faced, but like it's completely normal, like body language. He's not trying to hit on her because she's a masked lesbian. Like it's a bro code, I guess. And I get there and I roll up and like you can see the shift in his eyes when I show up. And the thing is like I can tell that she's kind of been uncomfortable just because like she's kind of a shy human being.
Right.
She's non-confrontational. He's obviously been drunk. She was like, yeah, he's made some like weird comments, but like it hasn't been a big deal. Immediate shift in everything when I get there and give her a kiss and say hello, right? Because I'm fine.
I already know what's coming.
I'm showing up and so I kind of check, like I clock that shift in body language and everything, and I'm protective. That's what I do, and I automatically insert myself between her and him.
Yeah,
because it's what I'm gonna do, and she's also very non-confrontational.
Right,
like, that's not her gig. I don't like to, but I will.
Yeah,
if you make me, I will.
Yeah.
And I automatically insert myself between her and him to just like give her that reprieve. Just because like I can just tell like it's just been a little bit uncomfortable.
Right.
But like not terrible. I have my back to him because like I'm between her and the bar and like I have my back to him and I immediately feel this man's breath on like my shoulder.
I literally just got
like
the chills.
Right here, like on my shoulder and neck. He has closed the gap of about 3 feet. Okay.
He's coming in hot.
I feel this man's breath on my neck and shoulder. Kind of can feel his body like literally right up against me, like brushed. And he whispers in my fucking ear.
No.
You smell like vanilla and candy. And Jen's like, what the fuck just happened? And I'm like, I'm about to murder a man.
I was gonna say, straight to jail.
I'm about to commit murder tonight. I was like, and I turn around. Look again. These men are fucking lucky. It's me and not somebody who actually will turn around and throat punch them both in their Adam's apple and their teeny weenies because I will. But like
their Vienna sausages are gone.
Crush it. Like I take a beat because I like to diffuse, and also I am in a straight space with a woman in downtown Fort Worth.
Not safe.
It's not safe.
No.
Like I'm gonna take a moment to go, okay, how do we diffuse the situation without the potential of getting followed out or getting murdered or getting assaulted in some way, shape, or form. So I turn around and I'm like, oh, like, hey, like, can you take a step back? Stuff like that. And he's slurring his words. He's absolutely shit-faced. He's gone, which doesn't matter. No excuse. You don't get an excuse if you're drunk. You should maybe get your shit together. But we're talking and stuff like that. And his friend from across the bar, because I make eye contact with this guy who's like staring us down and sees this and like sees that I'm clearly like not good, which also like, ew, that's icky. Why would you do that? And he like traipses his ass around the bar and comes over to us. Luckily, probably to get his friend. But first he's like, oh, hey, I see my friend has interest in you guys here. And I'm like, oh, well, like we're gay. And he was like-
Obviously.
and his response to that is, oh, you guys don't want to make an Oreo with this guy?
No.
I know, vomit immediately in
Immediately,
my mouth.
no.
Like, I just vomited out of all of my orifices in that moment,
Yeah.
like figuratively,
My couch
not
will
actually,
be okay.
but like,
Oh, I thought you meant right now.
squirty couch.
I was like,
There's a lot of
worst things
bodily
happened on this
fluids
couch
going
last
on.
night.
Okay, no, but like in that moment,
Okay.
like you have that feeling
Yeah.
where it's like I just everything just like
Clean up on
disgusting.
aisle 5 in the Fort Worth restaurant.
And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, that is not how gay works.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, okay. And like actually took it, like respectfully was like, I gotcha. And he like ushered this motherfucker away.
Okay, great,
Right? But
great.
the thing is like, just had to check to make sure and see if I could be a wingman for my buddy with the lesbians real quick.
No.
No.
Don't do that.
And then immediately after, another motherfucking man waddles up to us.
Why are they always waddling?
Because he's fucking tiny. He's like a 4'11" dude that's like giggling.
Santa? Is that you?
One of his elves, because Santa's at least taller. Okay, like, it fucking waddles up to us, and he's older, and he's just chuckling along, and he's like, oh my gosh, that was just the funniest thing I've ever seen. I've been standing over here for the past 30 minutes watching that all happen.
No.
And I looked him dead in the fucking eye because I was already pissed off about the situation. I was pissed off that the guy even fucking touched me.
Yeah.
That he had the audacity to... When he whispered that, he had literally smelled all the way up my neck, right?
All right. I just threw up on my couch. So
yeah. Okay, but like it was this whole like didn't fucking touch me, but I've never felt grosser in my life kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was already livid at that. I was livid at the, oh, you want to make an Oreo with my friend? Because like how the audacity, how fucking dare you?
Yeah.
Like, ew. But also this motherfucker who apparently has been watching the whole thing could see that women were uncomfortable, did not step in, did not say, hey buddy, they're not into it, maybe walk away.
Yeah.
Because that's what you should do.
Yep.
Just so you know, straight men, but like anybody, if you see a woman that is uncomfortable in a scenario, help them out. Girls do it for girls.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you
use
should
your
help 'em out.
privilege.
Use your privilege
to help women out of uncomfortable situations.
Yes, if you see it, go up and help them out.
Yes.
And then don't like hit on them afterwards.
Yes.
Don't make
it
they're already
weird.
uncomfortable.
Yes.
Don't make it worse. But okay. Just
PSA.
Some advice. I'm your 2 favorite Dom Femmes on the internet. But I look him dead in the eye and I say, you're telling me that you have been watching us be highly uncomfortable with this man for the past 30 minutes and you didn't have the balls to come up and tell that guy to walk the fuck away. And he like is stumbling over his words. I said, maybe next time check yourself and do that.
Damn.
And the bartender was like, hey, you guys want your bill? And we were like, yeah, we fucking do. We're leaving. Like,
I wish the bartender would have been like, I'm going to comp your
busy.
bill.
He was so busy. Well, he
didn't
did.
know.
He didn't even, he was like, I'm not going to charge you for
Oh,
your
okay.
drinks. He was
Nice.
really nice. He was a good friend. Like, he was like, that was shitty. I'm so sorry. He was like, if I had actually been here to witness everything that went on, because like he got told later on, he was like, I would have shut it down immediately.
Yeah.
But like it's one of those bars where it's so Cinepack. They have like 3
God, the
bartenders. and
bartenders
they're
are just
so busy.
really sweet.
They
in our
are.
stories. They're
Yeah,
great.
bartenders usually are.
They usually
I've
are.
never had a bad experience with a bartender.
No.
They're great. They know what the fuck they're doing. They're dealing with way worse
Yeah.
people. Okay?
Yeah.
And like I'll at least tip you well.
Yeah.
So but it's just icky. So like that's a
It's
thing
so
in straight
icky.
spaces where like men don't consider you
Yeah.
as like off limits if you're with someone.
No, I have one more story.
Give it. Let's go. To
follow up on that. Story time. So to literally just prove your point that men don't take you seriously, I was on a work trip and I was in New York. This was last year. I was at a table full of coworkers, my boss and my director. And so this is a professional business trip, right? I'm like keeping it very like low key. I'm dressed in professional attire. I'm not looking for anyone outside of that to talk to me.
But I'm already like clutching my pearls
Yeah.
in preparation.
Pearls are
for this.
clutched.
I'm like, okay.
Your feet are crossed, like you're ready to just like, yeah.
Clenching. I'm clenching my butt cheeks, everyone.
So I'm sitting there at the end of this table, drinking my drink, talking to my director. This fucking bald ass man that looks like The Rock Johnson got like fucking sideswiped by a semi truck once comes up to me, has the audacity to walk up behind me and tap me on the shoulder.
I'm gonna cry.
Okay. And he like looks at me, and I'm kind of just like, I'm mid conversation with my director, so I'm like, can I help you? And he's like, hey. And I was like, and he was like, I want to buy you a drink. And I was like, oh, no. Like, I'm literally on a work trip right now. Like, these are all my coworkers. Like, no, I'm not interested. So I made it about work at first. He didn't take that as an answer. He was like, come on, like, you can just come have a drink with me. And I was like, no, I was actually in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
When you walked up.
Free. Please leave me alone.
I'm unavailable. And so he didn't take that as an answer. He was like, come on, like, you can blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, no, like, I'm actually gay. So, like, regardless of everything I've just told you, I would not go get a drink with you anyways. And then he was like, oh, I don't mind.
Oh, every time.
I don't mind.
Every time.
I was like, oh, so silly of you to think that I was asking for your opinion on my sexuality. Mm-hmm. And like, I wasn't saying that so that you would tell me that you don't care. I was saying that to say, I'm not fucking interested. And so then I was like, no, that's not how that works. Like, I'm not interested. Also, I'm engaged because I was engaged at the time. Showed him my ring. He grabs my arm and tries to pull me out of my chair to come get a drink with him.
Immediately to jail.
Immediately. So many people are in jail today. Yeah. God.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go straight to fucking jail.
So my director steps in at this point and he's like, whoa.
About damn time.
Yeah,
it took him having to touch you to get somebody to say something.
Yeah, because
leave that there.
I don't think he has ever been in a situation where
a
queer woman was being hit on in front of him. And
I'm sure he's been in a situation where a straight woman was also saying no.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But I also feel like, and this is not to excuse him, I was taking care of it. Yeah. Like, I was like,
oh yeah,
foot was down. But the second that this guy like physically touched me, he was like,
hell
absolutely
no.
not.
Yeah.
And then my manager also was like, hey. And then he was like, whoa. They always do this. They're always like, whoa. It's not like that crazy. Like, I didn't do anything, blah, 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 blah. They always backtrack. And then they gaslight you into making you think that, like, you're overreacting.
I'm the victim. You're overreacting. I didn't do anything.
And he walks away, finally, comes back up later and, like, tries to, like, talk to somebody else at the table. But I was just like, it's just so crazy to me how, like, when I say I'm gay, it's not taken seriously. It's taken as like, this guy was belligerent in general. But immediately his response was like, well, that doesn't bother me. Yeah. And I'm like, did your pea brain ever consider that it bothers me?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to take any of the no's, and now I'm going to physically try to force you to come be with me.
Yes.
Honestly, I've had similar experiences in New York. No harm, no foul to New York City. We love New York City. It's great city. But
be careful.
Be careful. And this is probably the way in any city with like catcalling and people in the street. Because like I remember it's happened a couple times. Every time I've been there, it happens. And I'll be walking along the street. And of course, I'm trying to make myself look pleasant and approachable, which I've now learned I should look like an asshole in New York City because that's allowed. You don't have to have Southern hospitality in New York City. You get to be like, weird. Move the fuck out of my way, please. And like I get to be that. And I'm like, yeah. Like it's great. Because like part of that was I used to, when I looked pleasant, I would have to like shift out of the way for men as they were walking down the street. And now I chin up, look straight ahead. I will not budge. I have straight up walked directly into a man. And he like stumbled backwards and he was like, what just happened?
He probably needed 5 years of therapy to undo the trauma you caused him. You didn't move on the sidewalk.
I didn't move at the sight of the man coming down the sidewalk. I was on a path.
He called his mother immediately and was like, Mom.
And he wasn't distracted or anything. His eyes were up. He made eye contact with me. He walked directly into me as I walked directly into him. And I looked at him and I said, can you please watch where you're going? There was no excuse me. I'm not saying excuse me because it's not my fucking fault. You should have moved.
I'm dead.
I was busy going somewhere. You were in my way. Like I will walk through you.
I love thinking about what did he do after this experience.
Scratched his balls and then his head and then I don't fucking know.
I like thinking that he was like traumatized by it and was like
maybe he rethought some things. Yeah, I hope so. I hope he had a moment. Like that was one of those things where I was like, I feel so powerful in this moment. But like during that time frame, which the first time this happened to me, I was underage, mind you.
Yeah.
Right? Because I would go to New York City, I would travel, I would go do things, and I would walk around by myself when I was like 15, 16. And had this guy come up and like start walking alongside me, right? As they do. And of course they strike up a conversation. And at that time, like I'm a pleasant human.
Right.
Like I will have a conversation with you. Like,
right.
I believe in the best of people until you give me reason not to. You know, oh, hey, like, you know, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, there's this New Yorker talking to me, like, or maybe he has a question or da-da-da, or he's probably, you know, trying to sell me something or whatever. I'll talk to the guys and get their CDs and whatever. But he's just like, oh, hey, how are you doing? I'm like, oh, hey, great. And he's like, oh, are you from here? I'm like, no, I'm from Texas. And he was like, oh, well, like, do you want some company while you're here? And I'm like, well, no, I'm 15. Oh, that's okay.
No.
I know. Immediate red flag. Like, oh, that's okay. Like, da-da-da. And I was like, oh, well, like, he was like, where are you staying? And I'm like, well, I'm here with my mom. And then, like, that kind of got him to go away because I was not here by myself.
Yeah.
Which, that could have easily been, like, a trafficking situation.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. Like, I'm here with my mom. Like, leave me alone. Yeah. I don't know. But the thing is, I had similar things happen to me later in life when I was back in New York, walking the streets, going to 7-Eleven to get my nightly chocolate milk because I'm a child.
Because you drink cow
milk. Oh, no. Udders. But I remember being on a walk and having a similar person walk up to me and walk alongside me, and I'm like, can I help you? Because at that point I get to be the asshole that I am. Yeah. And I've already come out and I'm gay, everything like that. And we have the conversation of like, oh, hey, how are you doing? Like, you're cute. Can I get your number? Like, no, I'm gay. Well, that's all right. Right? And I'm like, I don't mind. That's all right. It's okay if you're gay.
Have you ever gotten the me too? Like the lesbian thing? You're like, I'm a lesbian. And they're like, oh, me too.
I haven't heard that one. What I've gotten is, well, do you need a friend? We could just be friends. Right?
Yeah, they're so willing to put themselves in the friend zone for like a week and then try to convince you to like get out of it.
Yeah. At that point, I think one of the times I'd done that, I had like a fake phone number that I'd be like, oh yeah, here's my phone number. I'll like call me sometime, but like I'm in a rush, so I gotta go over here, but like bye. And of course they'll take it. But nowadays they're like, oh, let me call your phone to make sure you have my phone number. So they check to make sure it's your phone number.
We don't need fake phone numbers now. We just say
no.
Fuck no.
No, he said fuck off.
No.
Go away.
I actually have a lot of friends and I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But like at that time, like being gay, like it didn't fucking matter.
Yeah. No.
Which is just annoying.
It's not taken seriously when you're a femme.
But I will say, on the other side of it, especially in straight spaces in general, there is a privilege that comes with being a feminine woman.
Yes.
Because you're passing. So, like, if I weren't with a masked lesbian at that bar that night, like, there would still be the danger and everything like that, but I'm a straight passing woman in that scenario. Yeah. Maybe somebody would have come up and actually said something. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, a lot of times if you're straight passing and you say you're in a relationship, it's assumed you're with a man, and then there's a layer of protection that is not there when you're with a woman. Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's like, obviously, you know, we're not trying to make it sound like being a femme is all like negative experiences, because
but there are negative experiences. There are. And it's also the lives of women.
Here's the thing. A lot of the privilege that we have that comes with being a femme are for the reasons that we're talking about that create those negative experiences. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's
like a protective barrier almost in some scenarios.
It's like, okay, we have the privilege of being maybe treated better because we don't present as queer. But the reasons that we're treated better are because those people that are treating us better a lot of times can get something that they want out of us, or they think they
assume that they can get
exactly
what they want.
And then comes the trauma that we've just described after. So it's like, is it really a privilege? Like most of the time it's like it does not end up being better.
Yeah, I mean, even like going back to the queer spaces, you go into that and they don't take you seriously as a femme woman. Well, like, oh, well, you wear makeup and you like to dress up and stuff like that. Like, it probably means you like dick too, which then automatically becomes a bad thing, right? When you go into.
You know what's crazy though? I feel like these experiences that I've had have solely been with like millennials and up. It's like our generation and more, and maybe you've had different experiences, but I feel like Gen Z and like younger people do not assume people are straight the same way that like our generation does.
I also haven't interacted with a whole lot of Gen Zers because they just came of age to drink.
Age gap relationship, shout out.
No shade.
So I can speak from experience.
No shade. But I haven't had a lot of interaction. So like,
yeah,
I think you're probably right in that.
from my experience, it's very different the way that they interact with each other.
Yes, I think you're probably right.
So
with
I
that.
think what I'm saying is I think that a lot of this is going to like change
I hope
with
so.
new generations coming
And the
up.
thing is, my experiences have always been older people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Except for
same.
that one guy at the fucking gay bar who was a little bit more millennial. But like that was a weird situation in general. Like that was somebody who needed to be checked. Body checked. Namely.
Into jail?
Yes. Did they do that? Did they check you into jail? But yeah. So that's
spicy trauma time?
Are you ready for spicy trauma?
It's funny because I feel like everything we just talked about was spicy trauma. Was that not enough for you?
Yeah.
Was that not enough for you?
I'll share mine. Mine's like mild and
we'll
like
do one more.
Is also like we've got the straights involved.
Yeah.
So, so Jen is trying to start like photography, right?
Right.
And she's been doing like mini sessions with people, and we've got some friends like free ones to build her portfolio, all of that jazz. And so I have this friend, a former coworker that just recently got engaged, and she's all excited because like all she ever talked about at work was how she wanted to get married. She was one of those. Yeah. It's super cute. And we're having this session, and I've been coming along with Jen, one to like help build her confidence, help like notice little things like don't put the open house sign with the arrow pointing towards her crotch because like that's not the open house. It's for realty. But we're talking to them and I'm telling them about the podcast because she's like all about that kind of stuff. But they're both like, you can tell they're like extra vanilla, very like sister Christian prude, very sweet, like
got it.
Maybe waiting till marriage kind of people. I don't know.
Okay.
And we're talking about.
This is a straight couple?
This is a straight couple.
Okay, got it.
And we're talking to them and they're like, oh my gosh, we just saw one of like the raunchiest musicals ever. And I'm in my brain, I'm like, okay, maybe they went and saw like Rent, right? Because that's like it's a show about AIDS and like like and all of that. And like it's a little bit more like out there than the standard like Anastasia, like something like that. And they're like, yeah, there was like an orgy on stage. And I was like, oh, it's definitely Rent because there is kind of one of those things on stage. And they're like, and I was like, okay, what show was it? And they were like, it's like Bread Makers, the musical. And I'm like, what the fuck is Bread Makers? There is no Bread Makers, the musical. Just FYI, at least not to my knowledge. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, musical theater friends, but I'm pretty sure there's no Bread Makers, the musical. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I was like, that doesn't sound like a raunchy show at all.
Just like, a bunch of people making bread in an orgy. Oh, if there's yeast involved, cut it off.
No, bye. But that, and they're like, cheesecake. And I'm like, cheesecake. And I take a second and I'm like, are you talking about Waitress? And they're like, Waitress. I was like, okay, pie, cheesecake, bread maker. Sure. Okay. It's about pie. Do you know Waitress? It's a movie.
I know nothing.
It's a movie from like the 90s.
Okay.
And it's about this woman who is in this really abusive marriage, gets pregnant when she doesn't want to and was planning on leaving, and like it, but like kind of has this affair with her doctor, with her OB. Okay. And it's this whole thing. It is a very wholesome show. The musical is a very wholesome musical. There are 3 women in it, and there's one like montage where like they're all like sleeping with their significant others. There's no skin. They were all fully covered. There's maybe one funny moment where like one of them is in a rocking chair dressed as I was about to say Diana Ross. That's not the right name. Like a woman, like a colonial woman.
Okay.
Like, that like who was it that sewed the original American flag?
I don't remember, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And like he's dressed as a pioneer, and he like comes out from under her skirt, under the rocking chair, like he'd been going down on her. And that's the raunchiest part of the whole show. Can
you imagine thinking that's raunchy?
I know. They're like and I was like, I'm sorry, that was raunchy to you, and like. That really, like, I had to take a moment where I was like, oh, yeah, I have to remember that, like, not everybody in the world has 5 100s on their BDSM tests. Some people don't have any 100s, and the highest they got is, like, a 70. And that's okay. But, like, woo. Woo. I was like,
it was a reality check for you.
It was a reality check. Yeah. It was, like, shock.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like going into shock. It's like when you go to another country.
Yes. That's how I feel when I go home
Culture shock.
and I'm around my family now. I'm like, oh God, there are 99% of the things that I normally talk about that like I literally can't say.
But they're like in this very sweet, wholesome, shiny little bubble talking about their Raunchy Bread Makers, the musical with like
that's so cute.
No Skin. So raunchy. And I was just like, never go see Rent then.
Tell them to not listen to the podcast. I feel like it might be a lot for you.
That's what I said. I was like, I don't know. I was like, if you think that's raunchy, I don't know if the podcast is going to be up your
It's
alley.
not your cup of tea.
I was like, that's
but
okay.
you can listen to Joe Rogan.
Wholesome content.
You will hear about aliens.
Yeah.
And that might be where your limit is.
Yeah. So not spicy for me, spicy for
spicy
them.
for
like,
them.
It was just so funny in that moment. I was like, oh my God, like these sweet, precious human beings.
That's so
cute.
And
I forget that those people exist because I surround myself with people.
God, we're so demented.
Like you. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, that was great. I'm gonna tell my story.
Okay.
Because it's just silly and small, but it's like my last day with a man in my life ever.
Ooh.
I had been trying. You know, you try really hard when you're gay and you're not out yet to just like fucking make it work because you feel like you have to. So I moved to Dallas. I'm on the dating apps. I'm swiping secretly on women, openly on men. And I match with this guy who's like a photographer, and I'm into modeling at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of thinking like, I'm not going on a date with a man I can't get anything out of. So like maybe he'll do a photo shoot.
Free dinner and free photos.
Free dinner, free photos, whatever. I think he's attractive, and we like talk a little bit, whatever. We go on a date. This was like 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. It was a long time ago. And we're sitting there, and like I walk in, and immediately he's like, doesn't ask me a question, like doesn't ask me like how I'm doing, like anything. I just say, hi, how are you? And he's like, I just got done with this event, and then starts going off about how he's the most important photographer in Dallas.
Oh, God.
And how he met so many famous people there. I'm just sitting down. I'm like, he's accosting me with this information. I'm like, God. So I like ordered a glass of wine, right? Because I'm like, this is going to be a long night. Like,
yeah,
he has not shut up, and it's been 10 minutes at this point. So he just is going on and on and on and on. And like, I'm like, I wonder how many glasses of wine I can have before he realizes I haven't said a fucking word.
Good test.
And at this point, like, I'm not a drinker at all. So I have one glass of wine. He's still talking about like his photography, all the stuff.
And you're not like chugging this wine. You're like really just sipping.
I'm casually sipping this wine. I'm just like, and then I'll chime in with like one question every like 2 minutes, and then he'll go on another thing, right? I'm 3 glasses of wine in, and I'm like, okay, I need to like
leave.
I gotta go, because regardless of what's happening here, I'm shit-faced. Yeah. I don't want to be drunk around you.
It's time to go.
So I like look at him, and I'm like, it's been really fun. But I'm gonna go home because, you know, it's already late, blah, blah, blah. I make up this excuse. And he's like, let me walk you to your car, right? So, also, he doesn't pay for anything.
You did buy all of your glasses of wine?
I had to buy all of my own wine.
No.
Which is like, whatever.
I mean, that's fine, but like, man, at least you could have gotten that out of it in that scenario.
You paid for a fucking therapy session. Like, you should have bought my wine. Like, so we walk out, and I'm like, this date was horrible. Like, it's so bad. And we get to my car, and he lightly touches both of my arms and pulls me in and tries to kiss me.
No.
And I'm like, what about what happened in the last 2 hours makes you think that this is a good thing, that I would do this? And I'm just like, the self-awareness is not there.
What did I say?
What did I say?
That made you think that this was working?
I want it to be like, do you remember my name? Like, did you even ask for
what
it?
color are my eyes? Immediately close them.
So I was just like, oh, no. And I was like, I actually like am not feeling this. Like, I just want to be super honest with you. I'm not feeling this. So like, I'm going to go home and like, whatever. And he's like, oh, you're not? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, I'm just going to go home. And so I think it was very clear at that point, you know, like what was going on. He texted me the next day and asked me to go on a second date. And I'm just like, I don't respond, obviously. That's the end of our saga together. But like 2 months later, he follows me on Instagram and like likes a bunch of stuff. And I'm just like, what is it with certain straight men when it's just like, they just don't, it doesn't register.
Yeah.
Like the awareness
The
is just
pieces
not
don't
there.
fit together.
No.
No.
And that was my last date with a man ever. Some would take that out of context and be like, that's why you're gay. But trust me.
The last man I slept with
not.
still has a complex to this day, thinks that he turned me gay.
You don't have the power.
Because the sex was not that good. And he was like, oh my God. He freaked out. He's super Christian. So he was like, oh my God. Like, he actually had a very full complex for a long time.
Poor guy.
Still does to this day.
You don't have that power. Don't worry.
Yeah.
No.
You're not that special.
Anyways.
That was good.
That was really good. Men.
We still don't hate men, but like, do better.
No. Here's the thing is like, there's two different types of men. And like the type that we love are like actively involved in our lives. And then there's the other type that we talked about today.
We don't have to talk about the shit that they do because they're not doing shit.
They're not doing shit.
They're just being lovely.
They're just being great.
And being lovely is boring.
It's not what you came here to see.
No.
Anyways, with that, we'll wrap things up.
Every week, we'd like to end everything with spicy trauma. Please send in your own. We love to
Please.
talk about it. I mean, I'm sure you want to hear all our stories, but we'd love to hear yours as well. Yeah. We'd love to chuckle at them. So you can DM us or message us through our link tree. So find that in the bio on our Instagram page. But otherwise, thank you all for joining us on another episode of Trauma Bondage. We love the fuck out of you all. Go forth. Have a spicy, traumatic-filled day.
Be good.
Or don't.
We won't.
Sure won't. Mm-mm. Not a chance.
At the end of every episode, I always want to cheers our mics. That's the first time I've done it, but I've wanted to every time.
This is going to be like, boom.
Goodbye.
If you liked today's episode, follow us on social media at Trauma Bondage Pod. Follow Beth at Dancing Gemini and at Bethany Nicole, and Brigitte at Your Fave Femme. If voyeurism is your kink, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Trauma Bondage Podcast, and subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/traumabondagepod.
We have several tiers with bonus content, access to our private Discord server, merch, and other titillating perks. If you know, you know. Production by Wolfstar. Special thanks to Details by Annalise for set design, D. Dumpy for music, and Noelle's art for artwork.